Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? And welcome to another edition of the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. My name is TJ Jones. Thanks for checking out the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Well, Who Dat Nation, normally when I do the State of the Saints podcast, I'm probably talking about predictions about the upcoming game, or I'm probably talking about the review of the game that we just watched, or I'm taking Q&A from loyal listeners like yourself. But on this edition, I want to talk to the Who Dat Nation. And I want to talk to those fans out there that are starting to panic. They're starting to panic because for the last couple weeks, the New Orleans Saints offense has not looked the same. They have not scored the way that we normally see them score, and they haven't been doing the things that we are used to seeing from the Saints. And a lot of people on social media have been commenting and saying that if Cam Newton arm wouldn't have been as jacked up as it was, the New Orleans Saints would have lost the game. And we're talking about hypotheticals, and we're talking about what's going to happen when the Saints get to the playoffs. And we're talking about how Drew Brees is looking. And we're talking about them not throwing the ball down the field. Not all of you, but a selected few. So I want to take the time now to tell each and every one of you that are panicking, each and every one of you that are at the edge of the cliff, please, pretty please, calm the hell down, all right? Calm down. Stop panicking, because this, in my opinion, is great. It's great. This is wonderful. Somebody right now is probably saying, TJ, are you out of your damn mind? What's so wonderful about the Saints offense? What's so wonderful about them not scoring in the 30s for the past couple games? What's so wonderful about Drew Brees throwing under 250 yards in these past few games? What is so special about it? Look, I want to talk to these fans out there that's thinking like that. For years, since Sean Payton and Drew Brees came to town in 2006, they have put up huge numbers. I mean, Drew Brees has thrown more 5,000-yard seasons than any other player in NFL history. As a matter of fact, there's not a quarterback in NFL history that has threw for 5,000 yards multiple times like Drew Brees has. Drew Brees has thrown touchdowns. He has thrown 50-yard bombs. Drew Brees has done it all. And now he is the NFL's all-time leading passer. But there was something missing. Drew Brees would throw for all these yards, but they wouldn't make the playoffs. Drew Brees would throw for all those touchdowns, but they wouldn't make the playoffs. And they wouldn't make the playoffs not because of Drew Brees, but because of the defense. And this is what I don't understand from Saints fans. We're out here ready to jump off the cliff because Drew Brees doesn't throw for 300 yards, yet we're not looking at the defense. We're not looking at the Saints' Achilles heel for the past 12 years. They're playing at a high level. And people are talking about, oh, the Saints going to mess up in the playoffs, and they're going to play teams that have good quarterbacks, and they're not going to be able to win games like this. Well, if you're looking at that defense, they will. Because for the past couple weeks, the defense has not allowed a team to score more than 13 points. But yet we are so busy looking at how bad Drew Brees and the offense look, we're not having an appreciation for the defense. Look, make no mistake about it. The New Orleans Saints offense will improve. I mean, for the last 3 games they've been on the road, it seems like forever since the last time the Saints actually had a home game. When you're playing in places like Bank of America Stadium, a stadium that is really loud, and they really have a huge home field advantage. When you're playing in places like Arlington, Texas, a place where the Dallas Cowboys, for some apparent reason this season, really have a true home field advantage. And when you're playing in a place like Raymond James Stadium, a place where Drew Brees historically has struggled, And I'm talking about years where the offense was efficient. You have to look and realize that away games and playing on the road is rough. And you also have to keep account that the Saints have played for the past 14 weeks leading up to the games of the Carolina Panthers. They played 14 weeks leading up to a game with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They played 13 weeks going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Week after week after week, there is more game film, and teams are able to analyze the tendencies of players. So they're able to put their players in position in order to win those matchups, in order to neutralize offenses. I mean, you look at Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was throwing for 5 and 6 touchdowns in the first couple games of the year. And people were like, man, this guy is great. And all of a sudden, people started to figure out Patrick Mahomes, and those 6 touchdowns turned into 4, and then 4 turned into 3. But how could this happen? What's wrong with Patrick Mahomes? Nothing. It's called game film. So we just need to relax. Look, I understand that everybody's just on edge because of what happened last year in the postseason. You probably still have that disappointment in the back of your mind. I know I do. I'm going to be honest with you. I have that in the back of my mind. I'm upset. I can't get the thought out of the Minnesota Miracle out of my mind. But at the end of the day, I like what I see out of New Orleans Saints because they show me that they can win any type of game that another team wants to give them. They showed me that they can get down and dirty. Looking at this Carolina Panther game, they won 12-9. That is an offensive struggle game. And the defense stepped up. We seen the Saints score 50 points. We seen the Saints run for over 200 yards in a game. We seen the Saints throw the ball all up and down the field. But to look at the Saints defense win them a game, you ought to be happy about it. Now I understand that Drew Brees isn't looking the same. Look, we all can agree on that. But you have to understand that Terron Armstead, according to Pro Football Focus, is the #1 left tackle in football. Do you understand how important a left tackle is? And do you know how incredible it is that Terron Armstead is the #1 left tackle in the NFL? And you think that you can just replace that type of productivity in a Jermon Bushride? Maybe Jermon Bushride in 2009, but not in 2018. Terron Armstead is special. And when you don't have Terron Armstead on the field, let me tell y'all something. With Terron Armstead, the Saints was averaging 36 points a game. Without Terron Armstead, the Saints went down to averaging 25 points per game. Do you think it's a coincidence? Absolutely not. And then all of a sudden you see Max Unger go out with a concussion, and you see Andrews Pete slide over into the left tackle position. Last year when Andrews Pete slid over to the left tackle position for a couple games when Terron Armstead was out, he did a good job. But Andrews Pete, I mean, he is a left guard, man. That is his primary position. And that's the reason why he has been probably playing some of the best football of his career, because he was at his natural position. And when you take him out of that position, of course the offensive line is going to struggle. So why are we trying to focus so much on the offense and not having an appreciation for the Saints defense? You should be happy. You should be happy because Drew Brees can have a bad game and the Saints still can win. Back then, if Drew Brees had a bad game, the Saints wouldn't win in nothing. That is what you need going into the postseason, because teams are going to be playing their best football. So the Saints defense is coming on at the right time. The Saints, once again, are going to figure out what's going on offensively, and they're going to improve. But me personally, I am happy that the Saints finally got something that I, as a fan, have been looking for years. And that is a phone boot defense. And for all those people out there that are talking hypothetically, said that about Cam Newton, what if Cam Newton's arm was healthy, the Saints would have lost. I give you some more hypotheticals. What if Alex Anzalone didn't tackle Adam Thielen and force that fumble in the red zone? What if Justin Tucker would have made that extra point in Baltimore? What if Zane Gonzalez would have made one of his 4 missed field goals? What if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers kicker would have made one of those extra points? What would have happened if Taysom Hill didn't block that kick? Do you see how crazy that is to talk about hypotheticals? Look, it doesn't matter how you win. The only thing that matters at the end is that you win. And right now, the Saints are in prime position to be the number 1 seed in NFC. And I'm talking to Saints fans, and they acting like we almost 8-8 or 7-9. Enjoy this. Enjoy this, because this reminds me of the Denver Broncos when Peyton Manning got there. Now, you remember the first year, Peyton Manning, he lit it up, and he had a good season. And then the next year, Peyton Manning, the skills start to kind of fade. And the defense stepped up. And, of course, we know about Super Bowl 50 when they played Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. It wasn't Peyton Manning that won that Super Bowl for the Denver Broncos. It was the defense. And when I look at the 39-year-old Drew Brees and how for the past couple weeks he hasn't been playing his best football, but yet the defense has been stepping up and looking out for the future Hall of Famer, I have to say that I'm very happy with what I see. Look, I understand that we all want to cheer and dance around when touchdowns are scored, and we want to feel good, and we want to have bragging rights against our friend that's probably a fan of the other team. But sometimes it don't happen that way. Sometimes you got to be happy with the 12-9 victories the same way you were happy with the 51-14s. But this has been the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you for checking out the podcast. And check out the State of the Saints podcast on YouTube. Go to youtube.com, search the State of the Saints podcast, and also check it out on Twitter at SOTS Podcast 8. That's SOTS Podcast 8. The State of the Saints podcast is also available on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio.com. Till next time, all I have to say is, who dat?